Very much, Mr Speaker. The Dairy Industry Restructuring Bill, New Sunset Provisions Amendment Bill 2010. Just there's a couple of points I need to clarify. I noticed the previous speakers, particularly from the opposition, they are supporting the bill for the record at this stage. It is only 5 odd pages long, and so quite how they managed to fill up 10 minutes of all other particular topics, I don't know. But also must take issue with Mr Russell Norman, the leader of the Greens, co-leader of the Greens. Yes, he made an interesting speech, but, you know, he was taking 1 + 1 = 36 or something, because actually it's 5 pages simply extending the balance and the competitive pressures that we're putting into the New Zealand dairy industry whilst other reviews are going on and other changes, as other members have spoken about, are going underway. It is actually as simple as that. All sorts of conspiracy theories running around the House, but actually it's very, very simple. But for the record, Mr Speaker, I just must address one fact. The previous speaker and one or two before him from the Labour Party alleged that spoke about sales of New Zealand land to foreign entities. Well, I'll point out, because I've checked with the Minister concerned, and this year, Mr Speaker, a grand total of 8,000 hectares of farmland have been sold from New Zealanders to offshore players, whoever they might be. And some may argue that may be even too much, they may argue it's too small. But just when we must put everything into context, Mr Speaker, because in the year 2006, when the previous government wasn't, when the Labour Party was government, in the year 2006, just that single year, a total of 384,000 hectares was sold offshore. 384,000 hectares was sold in 2006 under the previous government, as they followed due process and as this current government is following due process around such sales. Now, I'm not making a judgment if that's right or wrong, Mr Speaker. All I'm saying is we must put it in context. When we hear these loud speeches from the other side, work the numbers out. In 1 year under this national government, and this year 8,000 hectares have been sold offshore. In 2006, 384,000 hectares of New Zealand land was sold under the Labour government, supported by the Green Party at that time, to entities offshore, Mr Speaker. I just needed to make that clear. Mr Speaker, I'm very, very proud of the New Zealand dairy industry. I'm very proud. They have made some mistakes. New Zealand, we've made some mistakes on the way, but I'm hugely bullish of where they're going and the upside. Like many of their people in that sector, of entities in that sector, there is a growing awareness of the need for environmental integrity of the products they produce and sell. We fully acknowledge that, and I fully acknowledge the steps they're taken. But I do resent when some members cast all farmers, or all dairy farmers in this instance, with the same brush. Actually, most farmers I know, are hugely concerned at looking after the environment, because they're looking after it, custodians of it, for their children and next generations. Mr Speaker, just very quickly, some of the commentators around there actually kind of missed one of the key points of the need for this bill. And that's actually for Fonterra, for New Zealand dairy industry, to compete, to gain access to markets offshore. Actually, they must have domestic competitive pressures within New Zealand. Otherwise, they come up with trade issues in the entities and the jurisdictions they're trying to export to, or at least maintain quota into, Mr Speaker. So that's just a key point. That's just why, in conjunction with other measures, in conjunction with the review announced yesterday, it's actually relatively harmless but very significant that this bill is in place today. I look forward to working on it at our primary production with other members, Mr Speaker. But the review announced yesterday will address many of the concerns that members have raised in this House. Thank you, Mr Speaker.